So today I'm doing my first movie review on the film that won Best Adapted Screenplay and was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. Let's talk about Jojo Rabbit. Hello folks, and welcome back to another video. Now today we're going to be doing a fairly brief review on the film Jojo Rabbit, which just recently came out available to rent and buy and all that cool stuff on like Blu-ray. But I haven't seen it yet. It was nominated for Best Picture. When I did my Best Picture ranking about a couple weeks ago, this was one of the movies that I left out of the ranking because I hadn't seen it yet, but I just recently watched it, so I want to talk a little bit about it. So Jojo Rabbit is a film about a young German boy who aspires to be a Nazi soldier. However, when he discovers that his mother has been hiding a Jewish girl in their house, he must rely on his imaginary friend Adolf Hitler to help guide him. So I first want to address who directed this film and the very impressive cast that this film boasts. So Taika Waititi did the screenplay and directed this film. He also played a starring role in it. And then as for the cast, Roman Griffin Davis plays young Jojo in this film. Scarlett Johansson plays his mom. Thomasin McKenzie plays the Jewish girl that Jojo finds. And then Taika Waititi plays Adolf Hitler, who is Jojo's imaginary friend. And then this movie also has Sam Rockwell in it. And then it also has the very funny Rebel Wilson in it. So this film has quite the ensemble, to say the least. So Jojo Rabbit's interesting. I'm actually going to address the negatives first, and then I'm going to get into the positives. So this is my first official movie review, so I just kind of want to give you guys a good idea of how I'm going to structure these reviews. I think I want to talk about the negatives first, get those out of the way, then start talking about the positives. I will preface this video by saying there are a lot more positives than negatives. I really enjoyed Jojo Rabbit. So Jojo Rabbit is unique because it is a satire, and that means that it takes something that really happened, a real historical event, but it puts a very kind of comedic twist on it, but it tries to make statements about it. The difference between like a satire and a parody is that a satire kind of tries to be a little bit mean. You know, it takes a very horrible event that happened in our history and it makes statements about it. So as for the negatives, I don't have a lot of negatives. There's just a couple things I want to mention. There is one big plot hole in this movie that I'm actually not going to go into detail about. I'm going to save that for the end of the movie before I give my grade for it. But there is just really one plot hole that I can think of that it's either a really blatant plot hole or maybe it just flew right by me. But I'm going to go more into detail about that later. But it's a pretty important event that takes place in the movie that didn't seem to be addressed. But I'll discuss that at the end of the video. The other thing is, this movie, like I already mentioned, has a great ensemble of actors and actresses that play some very interesting characters. However, I felt like there were a couple characters that maybe were a little bit underdeveloped. Especially Sam Rockwell's character. He actually plays someone in this film that definitely has a relationship with Jojo, and it's somewhat significant. But throughout the movie, his character doesn't seem to get a ton of attention and doesn't seem to get a ton of character development. I wish Sam Rockwell's character would have gotten a little bit more of that, especially since I like Sam Rockwell as an actor. I think he can pull almost any role off. So I think he would have done great with a little bit extra material, if that makes sense. And then I also think Rebel Wilson's character, she's always a really funny actress. I've seen a lot of her movies. I feel like if she would have gotten a little bit more characterization, she could have been an interesting character. I understand that Taika Waititi had his role for her. I mean, she was definitely she was a supporting role in this film. she kind of played one of those characters that just threw a few jokes in there. She wasn't supposed to play this like extremely significant character by any means, but when you have great actors like that, I think as a viewer we just wish we could see a little bit more out of them, or we wish we could get a little bit more out of them. Yeah, I guess I just wish her character maybe got a little bit more screen time, because the little bit of screen time she did get, I thought she did a really good job, and I thought she was actually pretty darn funny. So with those negatives out of the way, let's get into the positives. The first thing I want to bring up is the great performances. Everybody did a great job in this movie. There isn't one person that didn't do a good job in this film. I thought Roman Griffin Davis was extremely good as Jojo. A very great young actor. I think he will do big things in the future. It's hard to not enjoy a Scarlett Johansson performance because she usually gives it her all. You know, she's been in just such a variety of movies. You know, she's been in the Avengers movies, she's been in movies like Marriage Story, and now she's in a movie like this, where she, you know, has to have this really like pretty heavy German accent, and she pulls it off, and it sounds really, really authentic and really cool. And she gets to do some fun things in this movie. She gets to play around a little bit, and I think she does a really great job. I already mentioned how much I like Sam Rockwell in this movie. I wish he would have had a little bit more screen time. So I thought he was great. Thomasin McKenzie, I believe is her name. She played the Jewish girl in this film, and she did a great job too. She knocked her role out of the park. I thought she was amazing. Oh yeah, of course, Taika Waititi as Adolf Hitler. That was quite a gutsy role to play, because especially considering Taika Waititi also did the screenplay for this movie. So not only did he play the role of Hitler, but he also wrote the role of Hitler. So couldn't have been an easy task to take on, and I thought he did a great job at it. And I totally see what he was going for. I might talk a little bit more about my theories about what he was going for with the character of Hitler towards the end, when I mentioned the plot hole that I mentioned earlier. Just because, even though I don't view it as a spoiler, some people might. I don't know. I want to save any theories that I have for what Taika Waititi was going for at the end of this video. One thing that stands out about this movie, I think it's a great mix of genres. We get obviously the comedic aspects of this satirical film, and I thought they were done very well, but we also get some drama in this film. There are definitely some very dramatic scenes, dramatic moments that I think are very effective, and you know, they don't seem out of place. And I think that's the biggest thing that can happen when you do all of this genre mixing, is that if you try to mix genres and you fail, what usually happens is you create a movie where one genre just feels so out of place. It's like The Ugly Duckling. It just feels so out of place. But with this movie, I thought they mixed genres very well. I thought they mixed the comedy, I thought they mixed the drama, and I thought they mixed some of the romantic elements in this movie well, because there are some romantic elements that we see, conversations about love and what it means and how it makes you feel, and it's all done really effectively and really well. Again, I already kind of mentioned this, but I think one of the biggest things that makes this movie so successful in my mind is its ability to be satirical about a very serious moment in history without feeling offensive. Now, again, I guess I can't say that this movie's not offensive, because I feel like maybe if you viewed this film through a different lens, you might consider certain parts of this movie offensive. I thought overall Taika Waititi did a good job at tackling some seriously heavy subject matter and making a satire out of it, because that's a gutsy thing to do. I don't think there's a lot of directors out there or writers that would have the kahunas to do that, because it's scary. I mean, you could really screw things up, you know, really offend some people, but Taika Waititi, he goes for it, and I think he was successful. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grade Jojo Rabbit. Since this is my first movie review, I'm going to explain a little bit about how this grading system is going to work. I'm going to grade the films on a scale of A+, to an F. So of course A plus being the best of the best, F being the worst of the worst. As for Jojo Rabbit, I really enjoyed it. For the movie that it was, I thought it did a great job. It entertained me, it made me laugh, it almost made me cry at certain points that were, meant to be dramatic, meant to be a little bit more heavy. I enjoyed every aspect of this movie with only a couple criticisms. So I'm going to give Jojo Rabbit an A. It's not a perfect film, but it is one that I could rewatch again. I think it's very rewatchable, and I could definitely enjoy it. And it's not too long either. It's about a little over an hour and 40 minutes, so I think that's a pretty good runtime. So as for the criticism that I had about the plot hole, again, this is the point in the video where I'm going to talk about some things that some people might consider spoilers, so if you don't want to know anything about any plot-related information in more detail, then you can click out of the video. I'm going to just explain a little bit about this specific criticism that I had, and then talk a little bit about Taika Waititi's character of Hitler, and kind of what my theory is about his portrayal of him. But first, about my plot hole. So, in Jojo Rabbit, Jojo's mom, played by Scarlett Johansson, she actually dies. Hey guys, I just wanted to interject real quick in this video. I know I put a spoiler warning up earlier, so I feel comfortable addressing this mistake that I made. So after going through this portion of the video and editing, I realized that the plot hole in which I was going to refer to was actually a mistake that I made. I went back, I actually went on YouTube because I wanted to make sure that this plot hole that I was going to refer to wasn't something that just flew right over my head. And it turns out, after finding a video clip of what is referred to as the shoe scene, that happens to be the scene in which the death of Jojo's mom is revealed. And this was something that I originally thought that wasn't addressed in this movie, and I thought, wow, that's kind of a big deal that the death of Jojo's mom really wasn't addressed until a character in the movie happened to bring it up. In fact, a couple characters brought it up later after the shoe scene, and those were actually the first times in which I realized, oh, I guess Jojo's mom is dead. But I didn't realize that the shoe scene was the first indication that Jojo's mom was dead. It just flew right over my head. I don't know if I just wasn't paying close attention enough, but after doing a little bit of research into this criticism that I was going to make, I realized that the mistake was actually on me, so I just wanted to address that real quick. And this was actually a pretty cool and emotional scene, and I think it would have actually impacted me a little bit more if I had realized that the body in which Jojo was hugging in this scene, and the shoes he was tying, if I would have realized that was his mom, I think it would have had a little bit of a bigger impact on me. But it was a pretty emotional scene nonetheless. But yeah, I just wanted to address that real quick. And then as for the Hitler character, obviously he plays a pretty big role in this movie. I remember watching the trailers for this film and wondering how Taika Waititi was going to pull off this, because in the trailers, Hitler definitely he's portrayed as this silly, goofy character. It's like, how do you make Hitler silly and goofy? Well, the angle I think he goes for is that Hitler is a figure of Jojo's imagination. He's imagining Hitler. This isn't real Hitler, obviously. So the way that Jojo's been raised, and the way that I would imagine other German kids had been raised during World War II, they had been raised thinking Hitler was almost like a god, like he was this great person. He's been portrayed in these kids' mind as being this person who can do no wrong. So in Jojo's mind, he thinks he's his best friend, and he, in his mind, interprets him as being someone he would want to be, or maybe even someone he sees himself being, or he aspires to be. So he, at least at the beginning of this film, or for most of this film, he is portrayed as this very happy-go-lucky, silly, goofy character who is actually very likable. And when you're watching this movie and you realize, wow, I'm kind of enjoying this character, or I'm actually kind of liking this character. You force yourself to like pause for a second and be like, wait, this is still Hitler. Like, even though this is obviously not Hitler, it's still Hitler. It's supposed to be him, at least. So you step back for a second and you're like, oh, I see what he's going for. So then towards the end of this film, when Jojo he gets to know the Jewish girl a little bit more, and you know, he's like asking her about her heritage and, you know, her people. He starts to kind of grow this disdain for Hitler. So that's when we see the Hitler character become mean and demanding, and he raises his voice at Jojo, and he becomes this very unlikable character. So the portrayal of Hitler in Jojo Rabbit is based off what Jojo thinks of him in his mind. When he sees Hitler as this great person, he can do no wrong, his hero, all that stuff, Hitler's portrayed as a very nice, likable guy. When Jojo realizes that maybe Hitler isn't such a great guy, he's portrayed as this very mean and demanding individual. And I thought that was a very interesting direction to take with this character. So anyways, guys, that is it from me. Thank you for watching this first movie review. I know it wasn't perfect, but I'm still kind of trying to get used to the more structured movie review aspect of my channel. Everything I've done to this point is a little bit more loose. I've done ranking videos, all that kind of stuff. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Please hit that subscribe button if you want to see more movie-related content that I will be posting on this channel. And if you do want to see more movie-related content that I post on this channel, also hit that notification bell so that you can be notified on my latest uploads. Anyways, guys, that is it from me. I will see you guys in the next one. Keep talking about movies.